There are many warnings that the American middle class will collapse in 2023 due to rising inflation, an unparalleled housing bubble, an exploitative healthcare system, and soaring energy prices. It's not just the federal deficit that's going to cause them stress, it's their personal finances as well. Indicators of America's inevitable collapse seem to be flashing increasingly and frequently, which in turn is a big effect on its families and citizens. The United States is the 9th most wealthy nation in the world, according to the most recent Prosperity Index, issued by the Legatum Institute, a London-based think tank. This is a significant drop from the previous year, when the United States ranked 4th. It's easy to dismiss the decline as insignificant, especially in the middle of a severe economic downturn, but the rest of the globe has also felt the effects of the recession and is recovering more quickly than the United States. In this video, I will take you through the 10 signs American family budgets will be blown through in 2023. But before we start, I would like you to give a thumbs up to this video and make sure to subscribe to this channel. Let's start. Rapidly increasing foods prices. Many factors contributing to rising food prices won't go away just because a new year has begun. The USDA projects a 3 to 4% increase in food costs for 2023. If the forecast holds, grocery prices will rise, albeit at a slower rate than we've seen this year. The USDA predicted that food costs would rise in 2023 than in 2022, but that they would still rise at above average rates. Russia's invasion of Ukraine also has significant repercussions. McKinsey estimates that 30% of the world's grain and 15% of its corn come from Ukraine and Russia. A global food crisis may arise in 2023 due to the conflict in Ukraine, which may cause a sharp drop in output. In addition, the substantial disruption of fertilizer exports that has already occurred will affect global food production in 2023. High rentals. Rental prices have been increasing at an alarming rate. Even while it was encouraging to hear that rents in the United States fell in August of last year, this improvement is not likely to remain. The Joint Center for Housing Studies at Harvard University found that in early 2022, over 12% of households in 44 U.S. states, including Mississippi, had trouble paying rent. A recent study found that in Alabama and Georgia, a person making $14 per hour in 2023 would need to work 89 hours per week just to afford a basic one-bedroom rental. Inflated housing price. Since the pandemic started, home prices have skyrocketed. Increases in cost averaged 45% between December 2019 and June 2022. The average home price in the United States has climbed by 38% since March 2020. After a record-breaking run that saw mortgage rates plunge to all-time lows and home prices soar to new highs, the U.S. housing market is finally slowing. Home sales had declined for 11 consecutive months as of December 2022, and home values seem to have peaked. While demand and price gains are cooling, any correction is likely to be a modest one, housing economists and analysts say. No one expects price drops on the scale of the declines experienced during the Great Recession. High price and shortage of gasoline. U.S. gas production dropped last year because of the recession brought on by the coronavirus and the subsequent record low gas prices. Because gas drillers have remained cautious, despite the economy's impressive recovery from the recession, production has recovered more slowly than consumption. The market rebalancing occurred more quickly than usual in February due to the long, harsh winter, especially the hard freeze over Texas. Stocks have been rapidly reduced across Europe and Asia because of the long, hard winter, despite a rise in consumption. The situation is not quite as dire in the United States, where there is a sizable domestic gas production base, but supplies are nonetheless low compared to former years. High cost of education. The cost of higher education is on the rise, college aspirations are not what they were, and education is being treated more as a marketable good than a basic human right. Even though a 4-year degree remains the best bet for young Americans' financial security, the United States has become a hub for student debt, with roughly 3% of students currently behind on their student loan debt repayments. Since 1985, the cost of college has been rising, and in most years, it has risen faster than inflation. Reasons for the tuition hikes include a loss of state funding, higher college enrollment, and the proliferation of student loans, which disincentive schools to keep costs down. Decline in retail sales. UBS believes that some 80,000 U.S. stores will close due to the decline in retail sales in 2022, and that 3,700 merchants have already declared closures, perhaps shut down by the end of the year, with as many as 150,000 people losing their jobs by 2026. Persistently high inflation and weakening consumer demand are eating into U.S. retail sales expectations this year. S&P Global Market Intelligence economists predict retail sales growth of 0.5% in 2023, or a 0.1% decline when accounting for inflation, before returning to slower growth than pre-pandemic levels afterward. Price growth, meanwhile, will shrink to 0.6% in 2023 from 8.9% in 2022. Belt-tightening consumers will hinder sales in 2023 compared with previous years that benefited from post-lockdown spikes in demand and strong household balance sheets. High unemployment. The unemployment rate in the United States hit 14.7%, the highest level since the Great Depression. In the post-pandemic world, the rate has dropped to between 3.5% and 3.7%. However, it is expected that the rate will again rise in 2023 as the Federal Reserve maintains its policies to tame inflation, and 1 in 7 U.S. households is already scrambling to pay for food. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, over 5.6 million people were unemployed as of January 2023. To put it into perspective, the U.S. has more unemployed citizens than the entire population of Norway. Poverty. The United States has the third worst poverty rate among the developed countries, analyzed by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Only Turkey and Mexico fare worse than that in that set. For instance, the Brookings Institution research of 2019 found that 53 million Americans between the ages of 18 to 64, accounting for 44% of all workers, qualify as low-wage. Their median hourly wages are $10.22 US, and median annual earnings are about $18,000. The report adds that nearly 2/3 of low-wage workers are in their prime working years of 25 to 54. And the essential part of the research is that 30% of low-wage workers, around 16 million people, live in families earning below 150% of the poverty line. With rising food prices, housing and gas prices, these families' budget are bound to be blown away. Competitiveness. The United States dropped from first to second place in the World Economic Forum's newest study on global competitiveness. The World Economic Forum, which has been measuring competitiveness among countries since 1979, defines it as the set of institutions, policies, and factors that determine the level of productivity of a country. Another way to think about what makes a country competitive is to consider how it promotes our well-being. A competitive economy is believed to be a productive one, and productivity leads to growth, which leads to income levels and, hopefully, at the risk of sounding simplistic, improved well-being. Let's attempt to take heart in the fact that the current number 1, Switzerland, is a little outlier nation, and being dethroned from the top rank doesn't mean much. Health. The United States health ranks 27th in the world, according to the Legatum report. The United States has a lower life expectancy than the other 30 advanced countries included in the OECD study and has the highest obesity rate. The United States has the most healthcare costs worldwide per capita. Health spending per person in the U.S. was $12,914 in 2021, which was over $5,000 more than any other high-income nation. The average amount spent on health per person in comparable countries is less than half of what the U.S. spends per person. On average, other large, wealthy countries spend about half as much per person on health as the U.S. Those signs in this long-term economic collapse have hit many of us hard. It has already begun to cut into American family budgets, and by 2023, the catastrophe will have permanently shattered everyone. This is already showing in the happiness index of the U.S. As compared to other high-income democracies like Denmark, Finland, the Netherlands, and the like, the United States scores a dismal 11th in the OECD's Life Satisfaction Index. That's not terrible, but the United States is one of only 5 nations where people's happiness is decreasing. Portugal, Hungary, Canada, and Japan are the other 4 depressed countries. Furthermore, these rankings are based on research conducted before the recession, so Americans are likely much less satisfied now. This is the end of this video. Make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to this channel.